Commander Zextal stared at the data screen in front of him. The information was simple and boring, just like hundreds of other reports he had read before. Another new planet had been found, another primitive species that barely knew how to leave their own world. The planet was called Earth by its people. It sat in a small solar system that most of the galaxy ignored. The species living there had only recently figured out how to send metal tubes into space. They had not even left their own solar system yet. "Sir, should we prepare the standard first contact package?" asked his assistant, a young officer named Velinari. Zextal nodded without much interest. He had done this job for 20 years. Every new species was the same. They would panic when they saw alien ships. They would either try to fight or hide. Then they would slowly learn that the galaxy was much bigger than they thought. Yes, prepare the usual items. Translation devices, basic technology samples, and cultural exchange protocols. This should take no more than a few days. The commander's ship was part of a small fleet. 3 vessels from different parts of the galaxy had come together for this mission. It was routine work. They would study the humans, decide if they were ready to join galactic society, and then leave. Far below on Earth, Captain Jake Morrison sat in a dark room filled with computer screens. Red lights blinked as his team tracked 3 objects moving toward their planet. The objects were too big to be asteroids and moved in ways that no natural thing could move. "Captain, the objects are definitely artificial," said Lieutenant Kate Miller. She was his best radar operator. "They're slowing down as they approach us." "That's not something rocks do." Jake had been waiting for this day his whole life. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer. They were not alone. "Send a message to President Carter immediately," Jake ordered. "Tell her we have visitors." The Earth Defense Initiative had been created just 5 years earlier. Most people thought it was a waste of money. They said humans would never meet aliens. Jake had always believed they were wrong. Within hours, the president had called an emergency meeting. The room was full of scientists, military officers, and government officials. Everyone looked nervous except for Ambassador Kevin Walsh. He seemed excited. "This is the moment we've been preparing for," Kevin said. "We have protocols ready. We know what to do." Dr. Amy Foster, Earth's leading physicist, studied the data about the alien ships. Something about their movement patterns interested her. They were not trying to hide. They were not acting like invaders. They seemed to be following some kind of official procedure. "I think they're explorers," she said. "Look at how they're approaching. They're being careful and slow. They want us to see them coming." Colonel Ben Hayes, the military advisor, was less trusting. "Maybe, but we should be ready for anything. We don't know what they want." President Lisa Carter made the decision that would change human history. "We will meet with them, but we do it on our terms. We show them that humans are not afraid." The alien fleet stopped just outside Earth's atmosphere. Zextal sent a basic greeting message using simple mathematics and pictures. He expected the usual response: confusion, fear, or silence. Instead, humanity surprised him. Within 6 hours, they had decoded his message and sent back a reply in perfect mathematical language. The response was not just correct, it was elegant. The humans had added their own improvements to the communication method. "That's impossible," Velinari said, staring at the human response. "Primitive species never understand our first messages this quickly." Zextal frowned. In 20 years of first contact missions, no species had ever responded so fast or so well. Usually, it took weeks of back-and-forth messages before communication was established. The human message was simple but clear. "Welcome to our solar system. We would like to meet and learn about you. We offer peaceful contact and exchange of knowledge." What surprised Zextal most was what the message did not contain. There was no begging for technology, no demands for proof of peaceful intentions, no panic or religious hysteria. The humans sounded like they had been expecting this meeting. Send them our standard invitation for a diplomatic meeting, Zextal ordered. But stay alert. Something about this species is different. On Earth, Captain Jake received the alien invitation. They wanted to meet aboard their main ship. A small human delegation would be brought up in an alien transport vessel. It could be a trap, Colonel Ben warned. Dr. Amy shook her head. If they wanted to harm us, they could have done it already. Their ships are clearly more advanced than anything we have. Ambassador Kevin was already preparing for the meeting. This is exactly what our protocols planned for. We go up there, we learn what we can, and we show them that humans are worth talking to. The selection of the human delegation was easy. Kevin would handle the talking. Dr. Amy would observe their technology and science. Colonel Ben would assess any military threats and protect the others. As the alien transport ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, millions of people around the world watched on television. This was the moment everything changed. Humans were no longer alone in the universe. The transport was beautiful and strange. It moved without any visible engines and made no sound at all. When it landed, a door opened to reveal a chamber filled with soft, warm light. The three humans walked inside. The door closed behind them, and they felt a slight lifting sensation. Through a transparent wall, they watched Earth fall away below them. Well, Kevin said quietly, there's no going back. Now. Dr. Amy pressed her face to the wall, studying everything she could see. The transport had no visible controls, no obvious power source, and no crew. Yet it flew perfectly. Colonel Ben kept his hands ready, but tried to look peaceful. He had studied every piece of information about alien contact scenarios. None of his training had prepared him for how calm and routine this felt as they approached the alien mothership. All three humans had the same thought. This was just the beginning. The alien mothership was bigger than anything the humans had ever seen. As their transport docked, Dr. Amy Foster tried to count the levels visible through the transparent walls. She stopped counting at 50. Commander Zextal waited for them, in what he called the greeting chamber. He was tall and thin, with blue-gray skin and large dark eyes. Two other aliens stood beside him, one short and covered in what looked like metal scales, and another that seemed to be made of living crystal. Welcome to our vessel, Zextal said. His voice came from a small device on his chest that translated his words into English. I am Commander Zextal of the Galactic Survey Division. These are my colleagues, Engineer Crystal and Science Officer Yamandra. Ambassador Kevin stepped forward with a smile. Thank you for inviting us. I am Kevin Walsh, representing Earth and humanity. This is Dr. Amy Foster, our chief scientist, and Colonel Ben Hayes, our military advisor. What happened next surprised all the aliens. Instead of showing fear or awe, the humans began asking questions. Intelligent questions. How long has your civilization been traveling between stars? Kevin asked. What type of energy source powers your ships? Dr. Amy wanted to know. How many different species are a part of your galactic community? Colonel Ben inquired. Zextal had never experienced a first contact like this. Usually, new species spent hours just trying to understand that aliens were real. These humans acted like meeting aliens was normal. Your species is very calm about this situation, he observed. Kevin laughed. We've been expecting this meeting for a long time. Humans have always believed we would find other intelligent life someday. The aliens began their standard cultural exchange presentation. They showed the humans pictures of different worlds, explained how galactic civilization worked, and demonstrated some basic technologies. Dr. Amy watched everything with intense focus. When Engineer Crystal showed them a simple gravity manipulator, she immediately understood how it worked. The device creates a localized distortion in space-time, she said, but you're using a lot of energy for a small effect. Have you tried rotating the field generators in a helical pattern? Crystal's metal scales changed color, a sign of surprise in his species. That should not work according to our calculations. Why not? Amy asked. If you phase the generators correctly, you should get better field coherence with less power drain. The engineer stared at her. Amy had just suggested an improvement to technology that his people had been using for thousands of years. It should have been impossible for a primitive human to understand it, let alone improve it. While Amy talked with the engineer, Colonel Ben was learning about galactic military organization. What he heard worried him. So most conflicts are resolved through formal challenges and predetermined battle protocols? He asked. Yes, confirmed Yamandra, the crystal being. It minimizes destruction and prevents wars from spreading. Ben frowned. But what if your enemy doesn't follow the protocols? What if they attack in unexpected ways? That rarely happens. All civilized species understand the rules of engagement. But what if they don't? Ben pressed. What's your backup plan? The aliens had no answer. In their thousands of years of galactic civilization, everyone had always followed the same rules. The idea of someone breaking those rules was almost unthinkable. Ambassador. Kevin was having his own surprising conversation with Commander Zextal. The alien was explaining how new species were gradually introduced to galactic society. First, we determine if your species is ready for basic contact, Zextal explained. Then we provide limited technology and knowledge. Over several generations, you slowly become part of galactic civilization. What if we don't want to take several generations? Kevin asked. What if we're ready now? No species is ready immediately, Zextal said firmly. The transition must be slow and careful. Kevin looked around at his colleagues. Amy was sketching improvements to alien technology. Ben was pointing out weaknesses in alien military thinking. Both were doing things that should have been impossible for humans. Maybe you should reconsider that policy, Kevin suggested. The real surprise came when the aliens offered to demonstrate their food preparation technology. Dr. Amy watched as they used molecular assemblers to create perfect meals from basic materials. Interesting approach, she said, but you're wasting a lot of energy on unnecessary precision. Most food doesn't need molecular level accuracy. She pulled out a small notebook and began sketching. If you simplified the process here and here, you could make the same food using half the power. Plus, it would probably taste better because you'd preserve more of the natural molecular variation. Engineer Crystal looked at her drawings. According to everything he knew about technology, her suggestions should not work. But as he studied them more carefully, he realized she might be right. Would you like to test your idea? He asked. Amy's eyes lit up. Really? You'd let me modify your equipment? 10 minutes later, Amy had made 3 small changes to the food preparation system. When they tested it, the results shocked everyone. The food was created faster, using less energy, and tasted significantly better than anything the aliens had made before. How did you know that would work? Crystal asked. Amy shrugged. It seemed obvious. You were overcomplicating things. Colonel Ben was having a similar experience with alien defensive systems. When Yamandra showed him their ship's security protocols, he immediately spotted several problems. Your sensors have blind spots here, and here, he pointed out, and your response protocols assume attackers will announce themselves before attacking. That is how all civilized species behave, Yamandra insisted. But what if they're not civilized? Ben asked. What if they just want to hurt you? He suggested several simple changes to their security systems. The aliens implemented them as a test. Within minutes, their computers were detecting threats they had never noticed before. As the day went on, the aliens became more and more confused. These humans were supposed to be primitive. They had not even mastered faster-than-light travel. Yet they kept finding ways to improve technologies that had been perfected thousands of years. ago, Commander Zexthal called a private meeting with his officers. Something is wrong with our analysis of this species, he said. They should not be able to do what they are doing. Perhaps our information about their technological level is incorrect, suggested Crystal. No, I checked myself. They still use chemical rockets for space travel. They have not even left their own solar system. Yamandra's crystal body flickered, with confused patterns. Then how are they improving our technology? I don't know, Zexthal admitted. But I think we need to spend more time studying them. Back in the main chamber, Dr. Amy was examining the ship's quantum drive core, with great interest. It was the most advanced piece of technology on the entire vessel. Fascinating, she murmured. You're using quantum entanglement to fold space, but the field generators are fighting each other. No wonder you can only sustain it for short periods. Ambassador Kevin watched her work and smiled. Humanity was about to make a very big impression on galactic civilization. 3 days had passed since the humans came aboard the alien ship. Commander Zexthal was getting ready to leave Earth and file his report. According to all protocols, this should have been a simple mission. But nothing about the humans was simple. Dr. Amy Foster had spent those 3 days asking endless questions about the ship's systems. She had filled 2 notebooks with sketches and ideas. Every time the aliens showed her something, she found ways to make it better. The quantum drive is amazing, she told Engineer Crystal, as they stood in the engine room. But I keep thinking about those field stability problems you mentioned. Crystal's metal scales shifted to a worried bronze color. The quantum drive was the most complex technology on the ship. It allowed them to travel faster than light by folding space around the vessel. For thousands of years, galactic engineers had accepted that the system could only work in short bursts, because the fields became unstable. The instability is a natural limitation, Crystal explained. We have learned to work around it. Amy studied the massive drive core. It was beautiful, a sphere of crystal and metal that hummed with barely contained energy. But something about its design bothered her. What if the instability isn't natural? She asked. What if it's caused by the way you're generating the fields? That is impossible. Our greatest scientists have studied this problem for millennia. Amy pulled out her notebook and started sketching. Look, you're creating the quantum fields from 6 points around the core, right? But 6 points create interference patterns. What if you used 8 points instead? Crystal looked at her drawing. According to everything he knew about quantum physics, her idea should not work. But there was something about the way she had arranged the field generators that seemed almost elegant. Even if your theory is correct, he said, we cannot test it. Modifying the quantum drive would require shutting down our main propulsion system. Actually, Captain Jake Morrison's voice came from behind them. That might not be a problem. The humans turned to see Jake walking into the engine room with Colonel Ben Hayes. They had been given permission to explore the ship freely, and Jake had been studying the alien propulsion systems. Captain Morrison, Zexthal said, following behind them. I thought you were reviewing our navigation systems. Jake smiled. I was, but I couldn't help overhearing Dr. Foster's idea about the quantum drive. And I think we might be able to help. You test it. Help us. Zexthal looked confused. Your species does not have quantum drive technology. No, but we have something else, Jake said. We have Tony Martinez. Tony Martinez was Earth's best mechanical engineer. He had been working on the space station when the aliens arrived, but Jake had called him up to the mothership that morning. Tony was the kind of person who could fix anything with whatever tools he had available. You want to modify our quantum drive using primitive human tools? Crystal asked in disbelief. Not primitive, Colonel Ben corrected. Different. Human tools are designed to work in situations where you don't have perfect conditions or unlimited resources. Dr. Amy was getting excited. Tony could fabricate the new field generators using your ship's manufacturing systems. And if we're wrong, We could always put the original configuration back. Commander Zextal faced a difficult decision. Allowing aliens to modify their most important technology went against every regulation in the Galactic Handbook. But the humans had already improved several other systems on his ship, and if Dr. Foster was right about the quantum drive, it could revolutionize space travel. If we allow this, he said slowly, and something goes wrong, my ship could be stranded here, permanently. Ambassador Kevin Walsh stepped forward. Then we'll help you get home. Earth may not have quantum drives, but we have other resources. We'll figure something out together. There was something about the way Kevin said it that convinced Zextal. The human wasn't making an empty promise. He genuinely believed that humanity would find a solution to any problem that arose. Very well, the commander decided. You may attempt your modifications, but we proceed very carefully. Tony Martinez arrived on the ship 2 hours later, carrying a toolkit that made the aliens nervous. His tools looked crude compared to their advanced equipment, but Tony took one look at the quantum drive and started nodding. Yeah, I can work with this, he said. Dr. Foster's right about the field interference, and I think I know how to fix it. Over the next 6 hours, Tony worked with Crystal to create the new field generators. The alien engineer was amazed by Tony's approach. Instead of following detailed technical specifications, Tony seemed to understand what the equipment needed to do and simply made it work. How do you know that component will function correctly? Crystal asked as Tony assembled a field generator using parts from 3 different systems. Experience, Tony replied. I've been fixing things my whole life. You learn to see what's really important and what's just extra complexity. Dr. Amy helped with the theoretical calculations, but she also did something that surprised everyone. She suggested they test the new configuration on a small scale first. We don't need to modify the entire drive, she explained. We can build a miniature version and see if the 8-point field pattern actually works. It was such an obvious idea that the aliens felt embarrassed for not thinking of it themselves. They spent another 2 hours building a small test version of Amy's design. When they activated it, the results exceeded everyone's expectations. The miniature quantum field was not only stable, it was more stable than anything they had ever achieved before. The 8-point configuration eliminated the interference patterns that had plagued quantum drives for thousands of years. Impossible, Yamendra whispered, her crystal body flashing with disbelief. Not impossible, Amy said with a grin. Just unexpected. Commander Zextal stared at the test results. If they scaled this up to a full-size quantum drive, his ship would be able to travel farther and faster than any vessel in galactic history. We must install this on the main drive immediately, Crystal said, his scales bright with excitement. But Tony held up a hand. Hold on. Let's make sure we understand what we're doing first. This is pretty big change. Captain Jake agreed. Tony's right. We should run more tests. Maybe simulate some different scenarios. The aliens were impressed by the humans' caution. Most species would have rushed to implement such a revolutionary improvement, but the humans wanted to make sure they understood the technology completely before using it. They spent the rest of the day running simulations and tests. Every result confirmed that Amy's design was not just better than the original, it was exponentially better. As the sun set on Earth below them, Commander Zextal realized that his mission had become something unprecedented. He was no longer just making contact with a new species. He was witnessing the birth of a new era in galactic technology. Tomorrow, he announced, we will install the new quantum drive configuration. Dr. Amy Foster looked out at the stars and wondered what other impossible things humanity might discover among them. The installation of the new quantum drive began at dawn. Tony Martinez and engineer Crystal worked together in the engine room while Dr. Amy Foster monitored the energy readings. The modifications looked simple, but everyone knew they were attempting something that could change everything. Field Generator 8 is in position, Tony reported, wiping sweat from his forehead. The work was delicate, requiring precision that pushed both human and alien technology to their limits. Commander Zextal watched from the observation deck above the engine room. In 30 years of space travel, he had never seen anything like this. A primitive species was improving technology that his people had considered perfect. All generators are aligned, Crystal announced. Power levels are stable. We are ready for the first test. Captain Jake Morrison stood beside Amy, watching the instruments. What exactly are we expecting to happen? If I'm right, the drive will be more stable and efficient than before, Amy explained. If I'm wrong, we might blow a hole in space. Jake raised an eyebrow. Should I be worried about that second option? Amy smiled. Probably not, but I've been wrong before. The first test was small, just enough power to create a tiny quantum field around the ship. As the drive activated, something unexpected happened. The ship didn't just generate a stable field, it created something entirely new. Impossible, Yamendra whispered, her crystal body flickering with amazement. The field isn't just stable. It's different. Dr. Amy stared at the readings on her instruments. The quantum field wasn't behaving like anything in the textbooks. Instead of simply folding space around the ship, it seemed to be creating a pocket of altered reality. Tony, are you seeing this? She called down to the engine room. I'm seeing it, but I don't understand it, Tony replied. According to these readings, we're not just bending space. We're kind of stepping outside it. Engineer Crystal's scales had turned a color that meant complete confusion in his species. These readings cannot be correct. Matter cannot exist outside normal space-time. But the readings were correct. The ship was now surrounded by a field that existed partially outside the normal universe. It was still connected to regular space. But it was also something more. Colonel Ben Hayes had been studying galactic military technology for days. When he saw what the new drive was doing, he immediately understood the implications. Commander, he said to Zextal, this isn't just an improvement. This is a completely new form of travel. Zextal nodded grimly. I know. The question is, what do we do about it? Ambassador Kevin Walsh was thinking the same thing. This discovery would change the balance of power in the galaxy. Every civilization would want this technology. Some might be willing to fight for it. We need to test it properly, Kevin said. But we also need to be careful about who finds out. Dr. Amy was too excited to worry about politics. We have to try a real flight test. I need to see how this works in actual space travel. Absolutely not, Commander Zextal said firmly. We don't know what could happen. The ship could be lost forever. But Captain Jake had an idea. What if we don't go far? Just a short jump to the edge of the solar system and back. Even a short jump could be dangerous with untested technology, Crystal warned. Tony looked up from the engine controls. Actually, I think it might be safer than staying here. This field is putting out a lot of energy. If something goes wrong, it could affect Earth. That settled the debate. Nobody wanted to risk damaging Earth with an experimental quantum drive. They would have to test it away from populated areas. Prepare for a short-range test flight, Zextal ordered. Minimum distance, minimum duration. The ship moved away from Earth, heading toward the outer edge of the solar system. When they were far enough from any planets, Amy activated the modified quantum drive for its first real test. What happened next defied everything the aliens thought they knew about physics. The ship didn't just travel faster than light. It traveled faster than fast. The journey to the edge of the solar system, which should have taken hours, was completed in minutes. But more importantly, the trip felt completely smooth and safe. How is this possible? Yamendra asked, checking and rechecking her instruments. Dr. Amy was studying the data with growing excitement. We're not actually moving through space in the traditional sense. The field is translating us. We're stepping from one point to another, without crossing the distance in between. That should be impossible, Crystal insisted. Should be, Amy agreed. But it's happening anyway. They ran several more tests, jumping to different locations around the solar system. Each time, the results were the same. The ship traveled impossible distances, in impossible time, with perfect safety and control. Captain Jake was beginning to understand what they had created. This isn't just better than faster than light travel. It's something completely different. It's instantaneous. Colonel Ben realized. Distance doesn't matter anymore. You could travel across the galaxy as easily as across a solar system. Commander Zextal felt a mixture of excitement and terror. This technology would revolutionize galactic civilization, but it would also destroy the existing balance of power between species. We must return to Earth immediately, he decided. I need to contact Galactic Command and report this discovery. But as they prepared to return to Earth, something went wrong. The quantum drive had been running perfectly all day. Now, suddenly, it began to fluctuate. Power levels are dropping, Tony reported from the engine room. Something's not right. Dr. Amy rushed to the control panels. The readings showed that the quantum field was destabilizing, but not in a dangerous way. It was simply fading away. I think I know what's happening, she said. The field generators are overheating. They weren't designed to handle this much energy for this long. Engineer Crystal checked his instruments. She's right. The generators are beyond their operational limits. Can we fix it? Jake asked. Tony was already grabbing his tools. Maybe, but I'll need to rebuild half the system. As Tony and Crystal worked frantically to repair the drive, the ship drifted in space, using only conventional propulsion. Everyone realized that they might be stranded far from Earth, with no way to get home quickly. But Dr. Amy was looking at the problem differently. What if we don't fix it exactly the way it was? What if we improve it even more? She showed them her latest calculations. By redesigning the power distribution system, they could create a drive that was not only more stable, but even more powerful. That would require completely rebuilding the quantum core. Crystal protested. Then let's rebuild it, Amy said simply. Commander Zextal made another decision that went against all regulations. Do it. Build whatever you need to build. As the team worked through the night, rebuilding the quantum drive from scratch, they created something that would change the galaxy forever. By morning, they had a ship that could travel anywhere, instantly, with perfect safety. They also had a ship that shouldn't exist, according to everything the galaxy knew about science. The rebuilt quantum drive hummed with perfect energy as Commander Zextal's ship prepared to leave Earth's solar system. 3 weeks had passed since their arrival, and everything had changed. The vessel they were taking back to galactic civilization was not the same ship they had brought to Earth. Dr. Amy Foster stood in the engine room, admiring their work. The new quantum core was smaller than the original, but infinitely more powerful. Tony Martinez had rebuilt it using a combination of alien technology and human engineering principles that shouldn't have worked together, but somehow did. It's beautiful, Amy said to Engineer Crystal, who was running final diagnostics. It's impossible, Crystal replied, but his metal scales showed colors of pride and excitement. According to every law of physics I know, this drive should not exist. Maybe your laws of physics were incomplete, Amy suggested with a smile. Captain Jake Morrison and Ambassador Kevin Walsh were in the command center with Commander Zextal, finalizing the agreements that would introduce humanity to galactic civilization. But these were not the usual agreements for a primitive species. Earth will be granted full membership status immediately, Kevin was saying. No gradual introduction period. No technology restrictions. We participate as equals. From day one. Commander Zextal nodded. After seeing what humans could accomplish, the idea of treating them as primitives seemed absurd. The Galactic Council will not be pleased with this deviation from protocol. The Galactic Council will change their minds when they see what we've built together, Jake said confidently. Colonel Ben Hayes entered the command center carrying a datapad filled with military analysis. I've finished reviewing galactic defense systems. When we get to the capital, I'd like to meet with their military leaders. To share tactical knowledge, Zextal asked. To help them prepare for threats they haven't considered, Ben replied. Your galaxy has been peaceful for so long that you've forgotten how to handle real dangers. As the ship prepared to depart, the human delegation said goodbye to Earth. They would be the first humans to travel to another star system, the first to see the galactic capital, and the first to represent their species among the stars. Remember, President Lisa Carter had told them before they left, you're not just representing humanity. You're showing the galaxy what we can become together. The departure was unlike anything in galactic history. Instead of the slow, careful acceleration that most ships required, Zextal's vessel simply stepped from Earth's orbit to the edge of the galaxy in an instant. Journey time to the galactic capital, 17 minutes, Yamandra announced from her station. In the old days, that same journey would have taken 3 months as they traveled. Dr. Amy worked on her final report about the quantum drive modifications. She had filled dozens of notebooks with theories and calculations. But the more she studied what they had built, the more she realized they had created something that went beyond simple transportation. Tony, she called to the engineer, I think our drive might be capable of more than just travel. Tony looked up from the control panel he was adjusting. What do you mean? The field we're generating doesn't just move us through space. It manipulates the fundamental structure of reality around us. We could potentially use it for other applications. Engineer, Crystal's scales turned bright silver with excitement. Such as manufacturing, energy generation, maybe even communication across infinite distances, Amy explained. We've basically learned how to edit the universe. When they arrived at the galactic capital, news of their impossible ship had already spread. The orbital traffic control system directed them to a special docking facility reserved for the most important diplomatic vessels. Galactic Command wants to inspect our drive immediately, Zextal reported. They're sending their top scientists and engineers. Good, Ambassador Kevin said. We want to share this technology, but we want to make sure it's used responsibly. The meeting with galactic leadership took place in the council chamber, a massive hall that could hold representatives from 1,000 different worlds. But today, all attention was focused on the small human delegation and the impossible ship. They had arrived in. High Chancellor Vexmarin, leader of the Galactic Council, studied the humans with ancient eyes. His species had been exploring space when most of the galaxy was still primitive. He had seen countless first contact situations. None had been like this. You claim to have revolutionized quantum travel using the tools of a pre-warp civilization, he said to Dr. Amy Foster. We didn't revolutionize it, Amy replied calmly. We just looked at it differently. Show us, the Chancellor commanded. For the next 6 hours, Amy and Tony demonstrated their modifications to an audience of the galaxy's greatest scientists. They explained their theories, showed their calculations, and answered hundreds of questions. The response was immediate and unanimous. What the humans had accomplished was impossible, but it worked perfectly. How long would it take to retrofit our entire fleet with this technology? Asked Admiral Tefthel, commander of Galactic Defense Forces. That depends, Tony said. How many ships are we talking about? Approximately 50,000 vessels. Tony did some quick calculations. With the right manufacturing setup, maybe 6 months. But we'd need to train your engineers in human problem-solving techniques. Colonel Ben Hayes stepped forward. We'd also need to discuss security implications. This technology could be very dangerous in the wrong hands. The discussions continued for days. The humans met with leaders from dozens of different species, sharing knowledge and learning about galactic civilization. Everywhere they went, the same pattern repeated. The aliens would show them their most advanced technology, and the humans would find ways to improve it. Dr. Amy Foster became legendary among galactic scientists for her ability to see solutions that others missed. Tony Martinez was hailed as the greatest engineer in galactic history. Colonel Ben Hayes revolutionized military thinking with his unconventional strategies. But it was Ambassador Kevin Walsh who made the most important contribution. He negotiated a new type of galactic membership for humanity, one based on partnership, rather than hierarchy. "We're not joining your civilization," he explained to the Galactic Council. "We're creating a new one together." As weeks passed, the impossible ship became the center of a galactic revolution. Every major civilization sent delegations to study the human modifications. Engineering teams worked around the clock to understand and replicate the new technology, but the humans continued to surprise everyone. Each time the aliens thought they understood human capabilities, the humans exceeded their expectations again. Dr. Amy Foster developed new theories about the nature of space and time. Tony Martinez created manufacturing techniques that could build anything from raw energy. Colonel Ben Hayes designed defense systems that protected against threats the galaxy had never imagined. Commander Zextel filed his final report 6 months after leaving Earth. It was the longest first contact report in galactic history, and it changed everything. Species designation, human, he wrote. Technological classification, beyond current galactic standards. Recommendation, immediate full partnership status. Notes: this species does not think like others. They see possibilities where we see limitations. They find solutions where we see problems. They are not just joining galactic civilization, they are transforming it. The ship that had left Earth 3 weeks earlier became the prototype for a new generation of vessels that could travel anywhere in the universe instantly. But more importantly, it became the symbol of what could be achieved when different species worked together, and somewhere in the vast galaxy, on countless worlds, other civilizations began to wonder what other impossible things might be possible if they learned to think like humans. The answer, as humanity continued to demonstrate, was everything.